are still working with decimals and dividing decimals. Yesterday we divided a decimal number by a whole number. And today we're going to go one step further. We're going to divide a decimal number by another decimal number. So the first thing we need to do is, just like all division, when it's set up horizontally, we need to go ahead and take that and make it into our division boxes. So we have 1 68/100 divided by 0.8 or 8/10. Okay, when we're dividing decimals, when we have a decimal on the outside, it's easier if we look at it like a whole number. So in order for this to be a whole number, I would have to jump once and move the decimal here. That's taking away a multiple of 10. Well, if I do that in my divisor, I also have to adjust my dividend by one multiple of 10. So I did only one jump, so I would do one jump. And then always go ahead and go straight up and put your decimal in before you forget. Okay, so since we did this one by one multiple of 10 or one hop, we also have to do the dividend, one hop or one multiple of 10. And then we just divide like we always do. 8 won't go into 1, so we placeholder 0. 8 goes into 16 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. And then we subtract. 16 minus 16 is 0. And then we drop that 8 right on down. 8 goes into 8 one time. 1 times 8 is 8, and we subtract, and we have no remainder. So you see that now our quotient, typically our quotients have been being whole numbers, but now since we're dividing a decimal number by a decimal number, our quotient will also be a decimal number. So 1.68 divided by 0.8 is 2.1. Okay, the next one. Again, when it's horizontal, we always want to go ahead and turn it into a standard fraction box. We have 14 28/100 divided by 4 2/10. Well, we follow that same process. It's easier to work with it if we're looking at it like a whole number on the outside. To make this a whole number, we would have to move by one multiple of 10 to make that a whole number. And since we have to do it on the outside, we also have to do that to our dividend. So we would take our decimal and we would move it by one multiple of 10, go straight up, go ahead and put your decimal in so that you don't forget. Okay, and then we just use standard algorithm. 42 won't go into 1, so we placeholder 0. 42, well, it won't go into 14 either, so we have to have another placeholder 0. But it will go into 42. Well, I'm not really absolutely sure how many times, because that's a kind of big number. So I'm just going to look at your first number, the one in your tens place, and see how many times it would go in there. Well, 4, it wouldn't go into 1, but it would go into 14. 4 would go into 14 about 3 times. So I'm going to start with using a 3. And so that I don't have to erase in my problem a lot, I'm going to do it over here. So I'm going to see 42 times 3, because I think it might go 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. So yeah, 126, that's less than 142. So I'm saying it will go 3 times. And now I don't have to do that math again because I just did it right here. So I know it is 126. And then I subtract just like always. Okay, we can't take 6 away from 2, So we're gonna have to borrow from the 4, and it's gonna become a 3. And since we borrowed, now he will be a 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then we drop down that remaining number. Okay? So now I have 168. Well, that's a little bit bigger than the 142, and I know it went into that 3 times. So, and also I can look at, if I just look at what's in the tens place, it doesn't go into 1, but it does go into 16. And I know that 4 would go into 16 4 times, so I'm going to go over here to the side and see if 42 will go into my 168 4 times. So 42 times, not 3, 4. We said we think it'll go 4 times. Okay, 42 times 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 4 is 16. And that's exactly what we had what we were trying to fit our 42 in. Well, we know now that it will go 4 times. And we don't have to calculate that all again because we just did it right here. So we know that it was 168, and we end up with no remainder. So 14 28/100 divided by 4 2/10 is 3 4/10. Okay, on the next one. Always when it's horizontal, go ahead and set it up with your standard division. 20 46/100 divided by 3 3/10. Well, we said it's easier to look at your divisor like a whole number. So to make my divisor a whole number, I would have to move by 1 power of 10, and it would go at the end. And if I do that in the divisor, I also have to do that in the dividend. So I would take the decimal where it is, and I would move by 1 multiple of 10. I would go straight up and put my decimal. And then I'm ready to divide. Well, I know that 33 won't go into 2, so I placeholder 0. And I know 33 won't go into 20, so I placeholder 0 again. But I know that 33 will go into 204, but I'm not sure exactly how many times. So I'm going to look at what's in my tens place, and you just use it to get me an estimated starting place. 3 wouldn't go into 2, but it would go into 20. And 3 would go into 20, let's see, about 6 times. So let's go over here to the side. 33 times 6, because we said since 3 will go into 20 about 6 times, we think this might work. So 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 3 is still 18, plus the 1 is 19, so 198. Well, yeah, that's just a little bit less than 204, so we were right. So we can use that 6. And we don't have to do the math, we just did it right here. So we know it was 198, and then we subtract like always. We can't take 8 from 4, so we would have to borrow. Well, he said that he would loan it to him, but he's going to have to get it somewhere first. So we're going to have to go all the way across and borrow. So that would become a 1. Now, since he had already promised him some of what he borrowed, he'll be a 9. And then he will be the total 14. So we have 14 minus 8 is 6. 9 minus 9 is 0. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So we drop down our last digit, which is a 6. 33 will go into 66. Well, I think since 3 times 2 is 6 and 3 times 2 is 6, I think 2 is my number. So 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. I subtract, and I end up with 0 remainder. So 20 46/100 divided by 3 3/10 is 6 2/10. Okay, I think you guys can go from there. Just remember, if you move the decimal in the divisor, which is the number outside the box, then you also have to do that same thing to the dividend inside the box. So if you're trying to make it simpler to see it as a whole number, move it to the end, and ever how many times you moved it, that's one multiple of 10. You would do the same thing in the dividend. Don't forget, as soon as you move that in that dividend, go ahead and go straight up on top of your box and put it where it would be in your quotient. That way you don't forget later that you moved it by a multiple of 10. So just go ahead, as soon as you move it over in that dividend, go straight up, put it on top of your division house. Okay, and I think that'll be it for today. You have a second worksheet, and I'm gonna say just work every other problem on that second worksheet. Just work every other problem because it does have a lot of problems on there. So you would work A, then skip B. You would work C, skip D, then you would work E. So just skip and do every other one on the worksheet. See you guys later. Bye.